the forces of karma and kismet intervened in the fate of the extremely happy and long-lived family. During an unpredictably intense solar storm, the worldwide network of traffic control computers crashed for a few moments under an incredibly intense shower of high-energy alpha particles that had invisibly flared from the far side of the sun several hours earlier. When the devastating wave ionized particles wreaked electronic destruction upon the world's exposed satellites, most of the suburban air flyers lost satellite-guided control services immediately and were thrown out of control. Regrettably, many of the homeowners' flyers lacked the sophisticated backup systems of the commercial jets and missiles, so that they sank from the skies into certain death as their so-called, and falsely advertised, utterly dependable autopilots and auto-navigation systems failed under the intense ionized particle shower from the solar storm. Most of the occupants switched over to manual control before the imminent destruction of their personal flyers occurred, and they thus saved themselves from disaster. Unfortunately, Anthea, Kayla and Marcus were not among this group. They perished simultaneously when the computer of their air flyer took a hit and its programming was instantaneously modified. The air flyer dived into the side of a granite-faced mountain as if the divine wind from the mouth of a powerful kami had forced the innocent craft to suffer a kamikaze death for a heavenly purpose. There was no time to allow for the possibility of a manual takeover before the crash. It was time for all three of them to come home into the light. All three of their souls were happily and lovingly received into the light and drawn into the hereafter. Rather than reincarnate, the infantile soul of the former Anthea chose to remain as it was in the perfect splendor of absolute innocence forever. 300 years as an infant had washed her soul clean of the sins that she had committed. Besides, there was the small matter of her courage in fighting the nemesis of mankind to be considered. Even though she had broken to her fears at the end, she had attempted to fight the evil goddess for the sake of life itself. Her life and soul was weighed in the balance, and on the whole, her good deeds outweighed her bad deeds. Also, her soul had been rejuvenated to a state of infantile innocence by a 300-year sojourn into early infancy. This had never happened before in the experience of the judges of karma and kismet. She was a special case. After due consideration, it was judged that her soul had expiated her sins long before and that her inherent good nature qualified her for a heavenly respite before reincarnation. Since she had battled the utterly foul and evil goddess without hope of survival for the sake of the living that dwelt in the universe, therefore her soul was given special consideration for its desires. Because her wishes did not demand angelic powers, repeatedly asked after translation to the heavenly plane by mortal souls but never granted as a matter of heavenly policy, nor the powers of a saint, per policy of the One, these powers were always granted by special dispensation while the personage was alive, so that temporal authorities could recognize the special status afforded the personage by heavenly decree. Her wishes for eternal innocence and non-reincarnation were respected and honored by a special order of the One to ensure her eternal happiness. She was ensconced in a heavenly nursery where she could be fed, played with and allowed the pleasure of peeing and pooping in her diaper every day. Her poopis, in heaven, most naturally could not stink nor cause diaper rash. There is some debate among the scholars of heavenly rules about this phenomena. It is well known that nursing infant stools are odorless, yet the infant in question was provided a heavenly solid food in addition to the motherly milk from the breasts of blessed women which cannot have an odor. There was no doubt that the infant in question was easy to care for, nor did she have an offensive odor even when she fouled her diapers. Was this heavenly phenomenon a consequence of the heavenly origin of the solid food, manna, or was it a consequence of her presence in heaven? The rabbis, priests, and imams in paradise debated the question eternally without being able to come to a common understanding of the subtle will of the One.